Okay, this is the barracks room at Fort Concho. And this is recreating what a typical barracks room of the late 1870s, early 1880s would look like. Okay, there you see they have a shelf and some pegs to hang their uniforms and keep their items on. There's a laundry bag hanging there. And that's how the beds would look when they're made up. And gray footlocker with some items that they might have had in there. Okay, this is the bunk I hang my stuff on. And this gives you an idea how the beds were made. It just had cast iron head and foot boards with boards, regular planks laid in between them. And that's a close-up of the headboard there. There's a little table there in front of the fireplace. There's James and Sean playing checkers. It's a good sized fireplace. It heats it can heat the whole room up if you keep the doors and windows closed. And of course the table will be right in front of there. You could sit there and relax. You'd have light to work by and some heat. The barrel over by the window before they keep drinking water in there. They got their water from the river. They load it up in barrels and bring it around and deliver it by a wagon. And they, in one of the post-surgeon reports, they said the water was okay for the first couple of days, but after that it got a green scum on it. So it's no wonder that the average life expectancy out here was somewhere in the 40s. And here's another bunk. You see he's got some of his equipment hanging up there. That's a haversack. That's what they would carry their food and eating utensils in. And this right here is a rifle rack where they would store their, keep their rifles when they were in garrison. We'll just walk around to the other side so the and that's one of the trapdoor Springfields set there for demonstration purposes. They have a little leather collar up there that you can lock around so the guns can't be removed. First sergeant was the only person in the barracks to have a room to himself. Little desk there. Across the hallway from his office, or from his room, was the company orderly room. This is the mess hall that they would eat in. They're not quite sure how these were set up. They're not sure if they were divided into two rooms or just one big open room. Combination kitchen and mess hall. There's one school of thought says they did their cooking outside and ate in the mess hall and it was just one big room. But there's evidence that some of these were divided into two rooms, so they may have had a separate kitchen that they cooked the food in. Of course, that's how some of the stuff came packed to them. That would be a real new issue of hard bread. They were still issuing hardtack made in the Civil War during the Spanish-American War. These are some of the mules here, using to pull the wagons. This is the foundation or excavation of one of the mess halls. They're doing an archaeological dig here to see what they can find about what went on there and how the rooms were arranged and whether they had a separate kitchen or it's just one big room. I think they're planning to rebuild this barracks and the mess hall, but that'll have to wait till they get some more money. These buildings, believe it or not, are actual old barracks that have been converted to other uses. They're the only original barracks buildings. The one you saw before was reconstructed in the 1950s. There's the end of Barracks 1. Yeah. This is Barracks 2. It looks a little better. This is how the outside sort of looked. They had two parts connected by a sally port door, like that right there. And then the other side, part of the other side has been demolished to make way for the street there. These originally had porches or porticos like the other barracks up the street, and there's a row of them. They look like that on the outside, mess halls sticking out the back. Way at the end of the parade ground here are the two oldest buildings in San Angelo. The oldest one's the commissary, which is partly blocked by the barracks. And the quartermaster storehouse right next to it. They were built or started the month after the troops established the fort here. They were finished in 1868. That's the post headquarters building. It's getting a new porch roof put on. Make it authentic looking. And this building over here, the tall one in the back, is the post hospital. That's also been reconstructed. It was at one time a hotel. It burned down in the early 20th century. Okay, this is a shot of Officers Row. Most of these buildings have held up pretty well because they were converted to use as private residences after the fort was abandoned. This is where the officers would live. Some of them were used by single officers. That one's a duplex. And that one there was the first one finished. It served as post headquarters for a while. And there's talk about getting that road out there so you won't have cars running through. There are plans also to bury all the electrical lines. And this gives you an idea what the parade ground looks like. It was open to the west, which is where we are standing. Had a flagpole in the middle. There was also a sundial right next to the flagpole. Post headquarters was at one end. The officers' quarters on one side. And the row of barracks on the other side. Okay, this gives you an idea what the barracks look like from the front. The high roof and the wide porch were built to give protection from the hot Texas sun. And you see the ventilators up there. There was a guardhouse next to this building. It's been torn down to make way for that street there. And this is the commissary and the quartermaster storehouses that you see here. And post headquarters again. Behind that we have a little shack. Belonged to a noted local architect named Ruffini. He designed a lot of buildings around here. Okay, this is a better view of the hospital. Again, it has the high roof and the wide porch. Keep the sun away in the summertime. In back of it there's a little white shack. And what that was used for was they used to treat TB patients out here. And one of the treatments was they would isolate the patient and they gave him a comfortable little house to live in. And this wasn't done by the Army. This was later after the, around the turn of the century after the fort was abandoned. They had a sanitarium here It wasn't located here on the parade grounds. It was located north of town. But this is an example to kind of little shelter. They would have hundreds of these, and each one would be occupied by one person who was recovering from TB, so that he wouldn't spread it and he would have an airy, clean environment to live in. Last building to be built here was the schoolhouse chapel. It was built shortly before the post was abandoned. It's basically your one-room schoolhouse. They also used it for church services. In back of that, you can see a low stone wall. This was put up surrounding the parade ground and also around the hospital, although it hasn't been reconstructed there. It was intended to keep buffalo from wandering onto the parade ground. Apparently they had a problem with that in the earlier years. And this is a view westward down Officers Row. There's this dirt path that you see here, a gravel path, was known as the Company Street. It was a U-shaped street, ran up to where I am and ran in front of headquarters and down around the barracks.